Have you ever felt small and suddenly responsible for everything? When I was 7, I strongly felt this. I was at the doctor's office with my mom, trying to explain to the doctor why my mom, who is deaf, won't answer his questions, because she doesn't hear them. He kept talking, louder and louder, as if the volume would make a difference. I was sitting there, feet not touching the floor, trying to make sense of all of it. I was translating words I didn't understand and was trying to help my feverish mom. That day, I learned how quickly suspicion grows when someone doesn't fit the script. I grew up between two worlds, the deaf and the hearing world. I am a coda, a child of deaf adults. And although I didn't know it then, I was already learning how to weave between worlds, how to connect pieces that aren't designed to fit. Because translation isn't just about language. It's about tone, behavior, and emotions. It's about reading the room, catching a look, and trying to make sense behind the meaning of a sentence. By 7, I was already translating at parent-teacher conferences, I was making sense of bureaucratic forms, and I was negotiating lumber prices. Honestly, IKEA should have hired me. When I grew up, we didn't have much money, so our trips were always camping trips, the ones with a tent big enough to stand upright in. My parents, they loved exploring. They still do. Mountains, lakes, cities, everything. Nothing could stop them, even though they had more hurdles to overcome. My mom, she's a kind of magnet for people. She can walk into a campsite full of strangers and leave with 10 new friends. Although she doesn't hear the language, her body, her gestures, her smile would say, "Hey, I'm here, let's figure it out." It's true that body language is the greater part of the message. My dad, he's the quiet inventor. If it started to rain, he would dig little trenches around the tent so the water couldn't get in, building it into kind of fortress. He still finds solutions when others don't see a way. Together, they made exploring feel easy and possible. And those trips, they taught me how to stay curious and how to not give up. They also taught me that plan B might even be better than plan A because it's more creative, more out of the box. They taught me that there's always a solution, even if you can't see it right now. When I grew up, I didn't see any of it as special. It was just life. But the older I got, the more I saw how people reacted. In Austria, people often said, "Oh, poor you, you must have had such a hard childhood." And I'd think, hard? Yeah, I mean, they're parents, like many others. The only difference I could see was that I could listen to music as loudly as I wanted, which I definitely did, and that I could come home from partying whenever I wanted, and my parents wouldn't hear it. They still knew, but I thought they didn't. Those moments were very pivotal for me during my childhood. And later, during my master's abroad, someone saw me signing with my mom on a video call. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" They came over and I could see the excitement in their eyes. "Oh, that's so incredible. Can you teach me? And can I meet your mom?" And suddenly, that story that I had learned to hide so well became something to be proud of. That shift from pity to pride felt like a change of identity itself. It felt like something shifted in me, and today I finally can say, and I'm saying proudly and loudly, I'm so proud of being a coda, and I'm so proud of having deaf parents. Today, I lead an organization where we work with kindergartens and schools and communities to create systems that listen better and that include more voices. We want to make education more connected, a living network of people that grow and learn from and with each other, and where one school's good idea can become everyone's good idea. Everything I know about how systems work comes from growing up with my parents. They taught me that connection doesn't depend on rules, And that's true for education too. Because education doesn't just happen in classrooms or at home, it happens in the small moments, in the doctor's office, in the supermarket, in the corridor. That's where we meet people as they are, and that's where our systems have a lot to learn. Rules and structures, they can organize learning, but only people make it meaningful. They're the ones who translate, who adapt, who fill the gaps that our systems leave undone. At my organization, that's also what we do. Sometimes that means bringing together two people with very different perspectives and experiences, showing them how their threads connect, showing them what they have in common. Because too often we assume we talk past each other and we think we know what's best for the other person. But when was the last time we've actually checked? That is why, when we start a new project, we make sure that we not only bring in experts, we also bring in people who live between worlds, people who have more hurdles to overcome. Because too often, we only ask deaf people about accessibility, or people with migration backgrounds about diversity, but they know so much more. They know how our systems connect, where they break, and how to make them whole again. That's the kind of expertise we need everywhere, not just where it fits the topic. Over time, I've seen and met so many people who live between worlds, people who translate languages, who translate between classes and cultures. They understand systems in a way textbooks can't teach us. My wish is that we learn from them, because that's how our systems grow stronger. Each person is a thread, and each connection adds strength. And when one part tears, it's the weavers, the translators, the connectors, who make it whole again. If you live between worlds, be proud. The world needs your insight. And if you don't, I invite you to reach out to someone you know. Ask them what the world feels like. I invite you to listen with curiosity. That's how we make our systems strong and resilient, thread by thread, connection by connection. Mom and Dad, thank you. I love you.